Hello there. I am Christi Sanders, and I am here today to help to present CISSP. So I know that a lot of you are here because you're wondering about CISSP, whether you're ready for it, ready to get going, you've done all the steps up to it, you've worked in the field, and you want to know if it was a good move for you to make. So I hope I can answer a few of those questions. Now, I won't talk for very long, I promise, and I will leave a do a question and answer session afterwards. So if you would put your questions in the chat, I would really appreciate it. But let's do this. So again, I'm Christi Sanders, and these are some of my certifications. I have been in the industry since about 1989, and I've come up through the ranks and everything. I have taught for 20 plus years. I've been with ATG Learning for about 7 years now. And I find that I am one of those that gets a little bored. So I go from teaching about 3, 4, maybe 5 years into the industry for about that long. And then I go, wow, I really miss a classroom. And then I'll go in and do this. And I've alternated it for, 20 plus years now. I really appreciate being in the industry. I think it gives me a little more integrity as to what I'm actually saying or trying to teach you. So that has been my life, except for raising 7 children to whom I attribute this, or I actually say thank you for this because I had to go back to school and re-educate myself. And I had DOS and DBase and Lotus and WordPerfect. And they just they clicked with me. So, imagine a girl thinking logically, whoa. So it's been kind of a rough time since the 80s through the 90s, just being a woman in the industry. But hey, I've made it. There's a lot of bumps and bruises along the way, but if you're a girl, I'm telling you, you can do this. And women are in demand in cybersecurity also. So there are lots of things to consider when you start looking at security. I love security in the IT world. So what really is CISSP? It is a Certified Information Systems Security Professional. So most of us have our engineering or our associate or MCSA or MCSEs, different things like that. But this goes way above everything else. Let's just say that it is fondly looked at as a 30,000-foot drop look over your network. So when you're up 30,000 feet in the air and you look down, you are over all of the thing that you see, okay? And that's a pretty scary prospect. And, and so it's like, well, you need to know what you need to do and who you're actually looking at. So you're over basically what we call an administrative or control model. And it encompasses the administrative, which is the policies, the risk management, all those various different types of things. Technical, pounding a keyboard. You don't have to pound a keyboard, but you better know what they need to do in order to configure a firewall and put security on that, or encryption, or hashing, whatever it is that's going to make it safe, and what ports need to be open, and including a router or a layer 3 switch or something like that. It's all those different types of things that they're implementing, those policies that you are part of making. And you're part of that because you're part of a big time, huge, the CEOs, the CFOs, all those various different types of things are your boss, and you actually advise them. You go with the governance that's over that industry. So regulations and standards, you need to know those. You need to know laws and rules and all different kinds of things so that if somebody comes in and audits you or whatever, you're not left, with a big, huge ticket basically to pay. In the CISSP world, it looks at 8 domains. 8 domains encompass everything from the outside of the building to the inside of the building, to your data, to your personnel, to your assets, to everything. So the 8 domains are security and risk management. You have to know what the vulnerabilities are, what the threats are, what everything is that goes into people getting into and hacking. So you need to know how to direct, people, or if your manager is looking at you and he's telling you things, and you need to know in your mind what he's talking about. It's always nice to have a boss that knows, what is going on and can make decisions based on your manager or your technical, manager, or your operations managers, all of what they're telling you, what's coming from the technical people or the operations people. Asset security, we've got security architecture and engineering, communications and network security. We've got identity and access management, which is an interesting one. They call it IAM, which is kind of cool because it's I am this person. I am this identity. I am. But we're going more and more people, companies, enterprises are going towards the cloud. So when you put your information out in somebody's data center, you need to know how to get them in safely. So we need to know what to do to secure them from our door to our server. And we've got a broad range of, of WAN that we have to look at. And so what is it, that we do to secure these things? And it goes into a lot of the various different, multi-access controls and different things like that. Security assessment and testing, somebody's got to do that, and we're hoping that we have a good team so that we know what the vulnerabilities are. We know where the threats are possible to be able to get in. Operations, obviously, we need everything to be secure in the building, around the premises. How do we have lights in the parking lot and around the building? How tall are they? How far apart are they? How many lumens are in the lights? Do we have video cameras? What kind of locks do we have? Do we have man trap? Do we have biometrics? What is it? And then software development is an important one, obviously. We use our phones, we use our tablets, we use everything, our laptops, and we get apps, and those apps may or may not be secure. So we need to make sure that the developing of those, of any kind of app that's in our, our infrastructure, anything is running in a safe manner. That when we use it, we're not being compromised somehow. That we've got everything that we need to be able to make sure that it is tied together like a good old knot, and we're safely utilizing this. There's also confidentiality and integrity that goes along with maybe developing a database, doing, any kind of app that we have to use. How are we doing that? Are we gonna encrypt that database? How much of that database do we need to encrypt? What is it that we need to do with that? So it goes into a lot of the obvious different things that somebody who is a developer would go through. So we get into the dreaded test. And this test was seen as the ultimate, basically the one to get through, and it still is. If you are going for the CISSP, you don't want to be, oh my gosh, I have to take the test. I'm so nervous, I can't think, So what we do is we prepare you. We get you practice tests. We do everything that we can for you. It's up to you to study and to apply that. And years of experience going through the various different, stepping stones like A+, Net+, Security+, and then maybe CYSA or CASSP or any of those, up to the point where you're going in and taking this test. you have prepared yourself enough to be able to do that. So when I went the first time to take it, it was a 250 question test on paper, pencil and paper. You got 6 hours to take it. Then a little bit later, they actually put those 250 questions on a computer, and you still had 6 hours to take it. Now they use what's known as a computerized adaptive test. And that testing is used for all English exams all over the world. And so there's nothing that you can't expect if you go and take it somewhere else. You take it, I wish you could take it online, but you can't. You have to go to a professional Pearson VUE Center, and they've got all kinds of different types of you know, safeguards. They're watching you. They've got video cameras, just like any testing center, but it seems like they go over and above. Each candidate will, so there are 150, up to 150 questions in this test. And you can have at a minimum 75 questions, but really the minimum would be 50 questions because, and you don't know this, but 25 of those questions are beta. Basically, they're testing your answers to see if they should put it into a future test, into the database so that other people will get it. You don't know what they are. You're not scored on them. So basically, you know, it's just like one of those things that you do for them. But that means that you could have up to 50 questions and pass. But you're given a minimum of 100 items and a maximum of 150 items, or 125 questions that you can answer that will, you know, be against or for you. To receive a pass or fail, a candidate must answer a minimum of 75 operational or scored items and may not answer more than 125 operational items because there's no more than 125. Additionally, each candidate will receive 25 pre-test or unscored items as part of the minimum length exam. Okay. Now, depending on the candidate, okay, or the ability of the candidate, a number of items each candidate receives on the exam will vary, okay? Yes, it will, because you answer one question and they will score that. And if you don't get it right, so they'll take one domain and they'll give you a question. And as I understood it, it was a really good question, a high scoring, you know, kind of a hard one, but they give that to you. And if you don't get it, then they will give you another question out of that domain that's a little bit easier. They're really trying to get you to pass this test. So that's kind of cool, but depending on how you do your answers as you go along, you could possibly only have 75 questions or 50 real actual questions. If you're, you know, if you're at a good percentage, 5% of passing, they will give you more questions. Now, if you get up to 100 questions and you're still on that, then you're, you know, still within a percentage, but then once you answer a question or two that puts you, you know, at below that, then they will fail you and the questions will stop. It's rather interesting to take, and I've heard it said that it's like an English test, and it really kind of is. So they say that a lawyer can pass it quicker or more easily than a technical person. And I kind of believe that, because as a technical person, you think, you know, instead of a management type of an answer, you think of the best technical answer. Now, every single answer in your bank will be correct. So what you need to do is you need to go through and you need to pick out the best correct answer, the one that the manager would actually answer, okay? So just to give you a few questions, okay, what is the most important goal and top priority of a security solution? All right, so we have preventing disclosure. So we're going to make sure that, you know, confidentiality is the name of the game there, and that's important. Maintaining integrity. Yes, we want to hash things. We want to make sure that we have everything secure, especially your passwords, definitely. We need to maintain human safety. All right, that's really important. And that's the first item on our, our asset list. We need to make sure that all people are safe when they're in, our building or around our grounds. And sustaining availability. People need to get to the internet. People need to get to the servers. Well, they're all really important, but what I think is basically, I always think of the technical things, the disclosure, the integrity, the availability. I'm not thinking instantly as a manager. So as a manager, they would be concerned about human safety. That's their top priority. And thank goodness, right? When you're in a building, you hope that you're going to be, looked after. And so that's the one that, again, I would normally not pick, but, I need to pick on the test. All right, let's do a question 2. At which layer of the OSI model does the router operate? Now you think, whoa, the OSI model, I learned that back in A+. I did it again in Net Plus. I did it again in Security Plus. And yes, you do. And then you do it in all of my classes because it's really important. And you need to know it like the back of your hand. A lot of people are saying, oh, we don't use OSI model. How? When you run a network sniffer, that's what you see basically, the layers and the frames within those layers of what you get. So I'm like, okay, so imagine passing a packet some other way. All right, well, there is the possibility of not doing that in Wi-Fi. I'll have to think about that for a minute. But the OSI model, every single test that I've had in security, in networking, on the server, Security Plus, have the OSI model in there. So you need to know it. So does a router operate at the network layer, at the layer 1, at transport layer, or at layer 5? All right, so if you're familiar with routers, you know that it operates at the network layer or layer 3 of the OSI model. Oftentimes you'll hear layer 3 switches, layer 3 routers, layer 3 this, that. And that is basically the layer where everybody gets a logical address or an IP address. And that is what's used for routing. So that's, one of those types of questions. What type of malware uses social engineering to trick a victim into installing it? I love the various different threats, the attacks. The social engineering is a big, huge umbrella that encompasses a lot of different types of things. So what does trick a victim into installing it? Is it viruses? Is it worms? Is it a Trojan horse? Or is it a logic bomb? Let's think about this. Seems like everywhere you go, you cannot avoid a Trojan being put into your computer, loaded with a piece of software, loaded with this. When you go out and look for, shoes on Zappos, they automatically appear on your Facebook page because you looked at them, and marketing tracks us. And so Trojans have been around for a really long time. But now they're being used for all different kinds of things. So I'm thinking that it's going to be a Trojan horse. And that easily tricks a victim into installing some sort of virus or worm or logic bomb. So it's always fun. And it is one of those things that we look at. We look at all those things. Each one of those domains that we looked at has all kinds of parts and pieces that go within that domain, which is, everything that you can imagine and more. So it's a really intense 5 days class, but it really is kind of fun. And if you're security, you know that it's one of those things that's a necessary evil type thing to be able to go through and have knowledge of every single one of those things. So According to the ISC squared, ISC, yeah, .org, which is where it comes from, you can, and if you go to ISC squared, you can go in and look at all the certifications that they have and all the various different types of tests that they use for that. And you could get a lot of your questions answered. So according to them, you accelerate your cybersecurity career through the CISSP certification. Earning the CISSP proves that you have what it takes to effectively design, implement, and manage a best-in-class cybersecurity program. With a CISSP, you validate your expertise and become an ISC Square member, unlocking a broad array of exclusive resources, educational tools, and peer-to-peer networking opportunities. And you can prove your skills, advance your career, and gain the support of a community of cybersecurity leaders here to support you throughout your career. It's pretty cool. Do you work in the government? If you do, CISSP meets the DoD Directive 8570.1. Always nice to get that over with. All right. So why take an CISSP Bootcamp? Because you want to advance and you've gone as far as you can. You need something more. You need those 6 figures or whatever you're going to get because you've got the certification behind you. And I like to know that my students know their stuff. Okay, because if I'm going to go in and I'm going to introduce you as a CISSP, okay, I want to know that you can step into or sit down in that chair and you can start right off, rubber to the road, and just go and have knowledge of everything that that stands behind that certification. And, anybody can take the test. But not everybody has the knowledge to put behind that certification. And that is so important behind any certification. So yes, that is a good excuse, as good of an excuse as any. So on May 18th, we're going to be doing a live remote class. And in any class, remote is always an option. It's live, you're part of the class, and there have been really, some fun things that we've done live remote. I've had people all over the United States, and it's fun because they do become part of the classroom. Their picture is up on my screen so that, their reactions, their comments and everything are part of the class. He can see them, we can see him or whoever it is. So kind of fun. And now, hello, we've had to do a lot of remote. And so it's just one of those part of our life, I think. And at least we don't have to wear masks behind the camera. So that's a positive. All right. So if you want to have any of your questions answered, if there's anything that you need from us, you can contact us. You can contact us by phone, 404-252-9611, or you can email training@atglearning.com, or follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. So I hope that you have found some value in this. Please don't hesitate to, to email training. And if you have questions for me, I would be more than happy to answer them. And so thank you. Thank you for being here. No matter where your journey takes you, I hope that road, that path is blessed so that you get to where you want to in life. That's really important. So good luck to you.